Hello, my loves. I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel, where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And I wanted to talk, right? This had a few messages come through me today, and one of them was like, how do we change narcissism on the planet? Or actually, how to change narcissism on the planet. So I wanted to just give you my perspective on this because I think it's really important to know. I don't believe narcissism is this thing where we have to put up with it. I believe, actually, I hope in my lifetime it's radically different for all of us, right? That this is a cycle that we actually, I believe it's a distortion, like I've talked about in some of the videos. It's just like, you know, if a computer system had a virus, there's some distortions that always happen in Mother Nature, yeah? I talked about, like, you know, with cancer, it's when cells turn on themselves. Like, we've got some spiritual sickness going on in our society a lot of the time, I believe, because we've gone away from our spiritual selves. So I want to start, can I start with how not to solve it? Because I think this is the most important thing. There are times in my life where I felt like all narcissists should just be put on an island away from me, or can I just go to an island with my dogs and be away from them? And that wouldn't really be the point. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. There's something else that we do not want to be doing. We really do not want to be doing, which is calling people out, making lists of people, bullying people in any way, doing it that way. There's you might know about this, there's a book called The Crucible. It's written, I don't know, a long time ago. It's been made into the theatre and made into plays. And The Crucible was about a place called Salem, which was a religious community, and some girls were caught in the woods doing witchcraft, some kind of witchcraft. Someone oversaw them. One of them, Winona Ryder plays this in the movie. One of them was drinking blood. That was her, I think. And they get reported to the religious community. And this absolutely terrible thing happens where they're calling out people who were with the devil. So because the girls were scared, they were then being asked to sort of volunteer names for people who put them up to it or were involved in it, so they could basically get themselves off the hook. But it also brought up a lot of our shadow aspects, you know, like humanity, where people who had vendettas against people would, you know, say that those people were bad, that they were evil, and some of them got hung over it. You know, Winona, I mean, it's complicated. Winona Ryder's character had an affair with someone, John Proctor, he was kind of hot, but like, he had an affair with her. She was young. She was helping his wife. His wife's a sweetheart, and he doesn't want to carry on the affair, so she's got a vendetta. So there was all this complicated stuff. Was she a narcissist in this? I don't know. I know that she kind of wanted his wife on the hook because she was so angry. It was so complicated, like all of our behaviours are, right? So it would be no good to... so basically in this story, it's just a terrible disaster where innocent people got harmed, right? Because it was almost glorified to call someone out, and the trajectory of that is that you get yourself off the hook and look okay. And I know a lot of you will have understood this, where if a narcissist has actually had a vendetta against you, you know, they're very good manipulators. So like, things can get manipulated and innocent people can get hurt. So calling people out, having a list of names, you know, trying to do any of that would actually hurt humanity overall, and could lead to that kind of stuff where people have got personal vendettas, their own shadow takes over, and they'd hurt innocent people. And also, no one can really tell, like, who is the narcissist. You know, a lot of people don't actually know whether they are or not, right? So people could get blamed for things that, honestly, we don't need to even go there with this. The other thing is, like, this idea that only a trained professional can diagnose a narcissist. I completely disagree with that. I completely disagree with it, because I've known narcissists who have completely duped therapists over and over again. Narcissists are major manipulators. Major manipulators. I could get duped by one. I was again quite recently, because I've known someone for a long time, and I think I just didn't want to see the truth of it. Like, you know, and the truth was horrible when I actually really put it all together. It can be really shocking, shock you to your core, who people are. So the master manipulators, they can also they block off your intuition. They know how to manipulate you at such a core level. So, you know, a lot of therapists aren't equipped to deal with that. And a lot of the time, the victim of the narcissist looks like the crazy one. How many spouses have gone to therapy where the victim, the target, is completely going nuts? And of course, the narcissist is the caring, calm, controlled one, bringing sense and order to everything, right? The therapist thinks, oh yeah, well, you need to work on this person's mental health. They're antagonized to a level that they're losing their mind. And the narcissist, their calm demeanor, you know, in this instance, looks like they're the healthy one. I need a tissue. I don't think I've got any tissues. So I have got a tissue. Walk with me to get a tissue, guys. I've got a runny nose. So, you know, like, there's so much that's misunderstood. So none of that's going to help us, right? And I don't believe that a lot of the trained professionals, narcissists love bomb them. They know how to get to them. They know how to look innocent. They know how to set people up. It is deep. And some of these people are so good at it, right? That if you can have a whole, like, tons of communities where they don't recognize a narcissist, then what trained professional is really equipped to? So many of them don't. They don't recognize the narcissist. So none of that, I think, is the answer. What I do think is the answer is to get away from all of that, is to raise our consciousness, which means, like, I spent a lot of my life not even knowing what abuse was. I'd never have known that my parents were abusing me. I wouldn't have put it in that language, even though I'd had an undergrad in psychology, right? It wasn't until I got to like 30 that I started seeing that it was abuse. I did my undergrad in my 20s. I was always studying human behaviour, but it was really teaching me about why we behave in certain ways. You know, like, it's probably very different now, but like how children are shaped and how our behaviour is shaped. It wasn't teaching me the things I needed to know to protect myself from predators. Another thing that's misunderstood about narcissism is this thing I keep talking about, where we are spending time in therapy working on all our wounds and all our codependency, which is so important. That's great, but it's not the reason that you're attacked. It's just one of the things that makes you easier to get, right? There are predators walking around the planet, like you've got in, like, I don't know, in nature, predators walking around the fields, you know what I mean, or the forests, right, in nature. This is the thing with the narcissist. They will take whoever they can. But if you've got codependency and childhood wounds and certain very empathetic qualities, you're just easier to target. Yeah? Why run over 2 hills when I've got a juicy thing I can eat here? You're just easier. So the first thing we need to do is recognize abuse. We need to recognize what's unhealthy about these cycles. We're not taught it. We're not taught emotional intelligence. We're not taught sovereignty. We're not taught how to protect ourselves. We're not taught how to protect our energy. We're not taught that it's okay to say no. We're not taught what we're consenting to and what we get not to. Right? It's the normalization of it. The solution isn't to then start calling people out as narcissists. That's just going to create more bullying, right? And more misunderstanding. We don't need to do that. We need to come into our own personal power, our own sovereignty, our own self-awareness, so that we actually understand that, I mean, can you imagine? Also with children, like a lot of children in abuse cycles, we think it's our fault, right? Just the awareness, if children knew it's not you, it's them. This is unhealthy, what's happening to you. You might have to live in this narcissistic family, but it's not about you, it's about them. Their behaviour is not okay, right? You're okay. You're right in how you feel. You know, your emotions matter. You know, they're not supposed to be neglected. It's not you. It's not you, it's them. Yeah? Just that knowing, even if you can't do anything about it, will keep you back into yourself, rather than keep trying to rescue or fix or prove yourself or please unhealthy people to get love, validation, security, approval in your life. So we have to raise the awareness of what's healthy and what's not. And then we have to raise our awareness of how to deal with it in emotionally intelligent ways, which is communication skills around not giving our energy away, around understanding how we can actually set boundaries, around learning our own empowerment around our resources so that we don't get attached in ways that are not good for us, that actually demolish our, spirit and soul, because we're having to sell ourselves out, yeah, to be loved, to have money, to be secure, to be safe, to be recognized, right? So the awareness, the consciousness is the first thing. And every single person that steps into their power around this matters. You might think, well, what does my life matter in this? Everything. Everything. We're a collective. When you step into your power, right, no longer, it's when we have zero tolerance to abuse personally, not by persecuting our persecutors, though. That would not create the energy we want on this planet. Just by not feeding it. Just by not letting our energy be siphoned, just by not being the battery source. They have to then awaken and come into a high calibration. They have to raise their consciousness then. They get forced into a dark night of the soul. But it's not by calling it out. It's not by getting other people on their back. It's just by understanding how to be sovereign in ourselves, withdrawing our energy from this, having tight boundaries, right? Living a life that's fully expressed, true to us. That we do things for money that are true to us. That we have people in our lives that love us back. Right? That there's give and take in our relationships. There's healthy communication about emotions where we don't just blame everyone for them, but we help people understand who we are and how we need to be treated to feel safe and happy. Yeah? These skills will change the world. So we do it one person at a time, but your thing in it matters. It creates an energetic portal in the universe. We're a collective. For every one of us that does this, right, there's a ripple effect, and it will just take on more and more momentum. So suddenly it won't be okay in our society. It just won't happen, right? Because there's no tolerance for it. It sounds like, oh, how could you actually do that? You actually can. Everything starts with a ripple effect, and everything starts with you and me, right? I could have thought so many times in my life, why would it even matter? Why does my life even matter? I felt like that. But the thing is, it did matter. Every move I made did matter. Every move I make, because I don't even have to tell you everything I've been through, because I hold an energy around something that you can get through. Like when you calibrate to my energy, it's like, you know that I've done something different. You know that there's something in you that can connect to something in me, that you've got it in you too. Yeah, and then I can help you put words and communicate it, and we can all do that, right? And we can all raise awareness on it. It's not to fight it in the same way. It's not to persecute the persecutors. None of that. It's not to call them out. It's not to name them. It's not to do any of that, right? We have to learn from things, our history. We just raise the consciousness by not feeding it in the old way, right? Raising our emotional intelligence and communication, so that if we see things like bullying going on, we don't be part of the problem anymore, but we don't call the bully out and bully them. That's not it. That's turning us. We just say, look, we don't talk to each other like that here. Yeah? We don't just cast people out when they're doing things that we think are abusive. We communicate. We have standards that are airtight, watertight, that you can't budge, right? But we haven't been taught to do that. We've been taught to literally people please, give ourselves up to get. No, right? We change our way of being. I promise you, if you did that in your community, just you doing it, you'll change it in your community. If you do it in your family, you'll change it for your family. Like one person in this matters so much, because the people you'll touch that will start doing it too, this is a ripple effect on the planet. We do not persecute the persecutors. We do not call them out by name. We do not look for, yes, there should be more justice in the system, I believe. I think it should be criminal, some of the things, or a lot of the things that go on. I think there should be much more less tolerance. But when we start with zero tolerance in our life for abuse, zero tolerance. This is not what I want to show my children. This is not what I want to show my friends. This is not what I want to show my communities. I'm sovereign. I'm going to model sovereignty in my life. I don't care what that takes. I'm willing to. That's what I'm doing, right? One step at a time. One person at a time. You open a portal. There's energy in this universe. Energy, consciousness. It gains momentum. One person, another person, another person. Suddenly it's a vacuum. More and more people are called up to rise into that, right? And the other stuff just kind of falls away. That's the way we do it. You don't burn them down. We don't call them out. We don't create a crucible. We don't need any of that. We just communicate well, so there's no room for it. If there's no room for it with you, there's no room for it with the people around you. They'll start calibrating up to you. We will change it. Just know that every move you make matters. Every time you're brave, it matters. It's not unnoticed in this universe. It's not unnoticed, right? It creates a portal for the people around you that can calibrate up. Even when you feel like you're totally on your own with it, you're not. It really does matter. Everything you do matters. It's all connected. We are all connected, right? And then it just falls away. We haven't got to bully or persecute or live in fear of it. Nothing. Because when you're sovereign, no one can actually get to you in the same way. My beautiful, lovely person in my sovereign program wrote something about being unbothered. You're unbothered, literally, and you can't be bothered. You can't be controlled. You can't be dominated. You can't be swayed. You can't be taken out of yourself. You're a sovereign being on this planet to self-actualize and self-express. So I'd love to hear your feedback on that, but that's how I feel about it. Lots of love, guys. I'll speak to you soon.